Good morning. It's a real pleasure to be here at Woodbury University. I have to say I've been really impressed with the university for several years now. It was my great honor this semester to teach Introduction to Marketing here and to meet some terrific students, and I see some of them here today. I'm honored and flattered. I'm assuming they came to see me, but who knows? We'll see how well I served them. I was struck by the dean's presentation about ethics. And one of the things I want to tell her, that's very meaningful to me. And also, when my business partner and I started our company 12 years ago, we wrote our ethics into our business plan. And we think that that has been core to our achievement. And I'm completely on the same page with you. So thank you. That's well done. So I'm going to talk about a big shift here. And this is an image showing the big shift. And we're all aware of this. And what this makes us aware of course, is that everyone is now connected. Everyone is connected all over the place. And so interestingly, I now have reconnected with people who I knew as a boy, who I would have no other way of connecting with. And I grew up in a very rural area, a very cut off kind of area that I refer to as the sticks and swamps of that area. A friend of mine calls it the Alabama of New Jersey. That's where I'm from. So a thing like the internet is thrilling to me because when I was a boy, my main source of entertainment, because there were no people around, was comic books. And you had to mail off for them for back issues. And so think about this. I'm going to take you back to the 1970s. Think about ordering someone's catalog and it arrives in the mail. And then you pick what you want and you have to go get a money order and send them the money, and then weeks later you get back what they had because you also had to give backup issues in case there were others that they didn't have your main ones, and finally they arrived, and it's a very slow system. And so you get someone like me who works in the digital marketing space, and he's thrilled because I can have it right away. And so I think this is why I'm on such a good wavelength so frequently with 12-year-olds, because we want it right away. So the big shift is we're in the early days of a cultural shift centered around three dynamics. And I'm going to share with you what I think these three dynamics are. So number one is, well, here's the three dynamics. Number one is impatience. I even said what it was before I got to it. That's how impatient I am. Number two is distraction. We've all seen that. And number three is multiple simultaneous environments. Multiple simultaneous environments. That's where we exist now. So let's talk about impatience. This would be a good image of me, except I don't wear a watch because the watch doesn't do enough for me. So I'm too impatient to have a watch. But yes, I want things quickly. I do pick my slow times. Before I started talking, before we started this morning, three of us were talking about bourbon and cigars. And so I like to do that. I'll have some buddies over. We'll break out the cigars and the bourbon. I belong to a bourbon club. That's a slow time. But the rest of the time I got stuff to do and I want to get it done. Distraction. This is a terrible example of distraction. This is not me. That is something where you're always being competed for. We see this all the time. So increasingly, when you look at something on your screen, there's something you have to scroll past, and it's rarely relevant, and it is a distraction. It's calling for your attention. This is not a terribly new phenomenon. When you used to read things in print. There were things called magazines and newspapers. And when you read them, there's an ad smack dab in the middle of what you're trying to look at. That is distracting advertising. Its purpose is to capture your eye. That has only sped up. And number three is multiple environments existing in more than one space at the same time. And so last night, I want to tell you, I was in the city of Whiterun. And while I was in the city of Whiterun, the local leader, who was a Jarl, asked me if I could please help and kill this dragon. Sure, I can help kill the dragon. I'm going to go mix up some potions. I need some potions to make sure I got my good sword arm. I couldn't remember what the potions are made out of. And so what I do is I get on my iPhone to look up how to make these potions in this game called Skyrim. And then, of course, what am I in but a two-screen environment? There's that screen and there's this screen. That's the norm. So these three dynamics coalesce into instantaneity. Instantaneity, everything instantly. Sure, I could have putzed around and remembered how to make the potions or figured it out or done it the slow way. And I'm like, you know what? I want to play this for an hour and then I'm going to go read that really slow novel I'm reading. Then I'm going to go to bed. Then I got to get up and run this a little bit. So no, I'm just going to look it up. Thank you, Google. So here are some stats to prove my point. If there's any skepticism, which there shouldn't be, because I think we all recognize this dynamic. But here they are, and I want to warn the faint of heart. You may find, if you're in my age range, you may find these horrifying. Okay, these are horrifying stats of how impatient we are. So number one, 55%, this is Stelter research, 55%, I can't last more than 5 hours without the internet. So I am the last person on my street, both sides, all the way down, who still gets the LA Times in print. My very first job was at a daily newspaper. They'll have to pry the LA Times print edition out of my cold, dead hands. I'm still getting it. And so I read the comics. I love the comics. And so last week in the comic strip Baby Blues, they were going to go camping, and the little boy, who I take it is supposed to be 6 or 7, says, "Is there going to be Wi-Fi?" That's his big concern about the camping trip. Absolutely right. 75% of Gen Z, that's the people after me, say a company is not less trustworthy if it exists only online. So why is this important? Why is this in my presentation? So I'm going to tell you why. So when I was a boy, if you wanted to sign up for something and there was a P.O. box in Times Square, it was a little shady. You were going to get ripped off. So send a penny and get 12 records from Columbia House. Anybody remember that? Thank you. Send them a penny, you get 12 records, and somehow or other you wind up owing them hundreds of thousands of dollars or something, right? There's some sort of scam here that a kid can't figure out. Not anymore. Now it's like, well, the online presence is equally valid with my offline physical presence. I have no doubt that it's legitimate, even though it's just online. There's no place to visit it. 8 seconds is how long you have to make an impression before older people will slip right off the site. And by older people, I mean 40 and older. The younger people will give you 4 seconds. 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. If they don't know what you are and what you do and how to do it and what they should do, they are gone. They evaporated. They burned right off in the sunlight of speed. 8 to 4 seconds. 3 seconds is how long your site has to load before 53% of visitors will leave, according to Google. I know that to be true. 53% will be gone in 3 seconds. So if your site isn't loading quickly, you've lost 50% of the people who were there because they're just impatient. So it's a world where millions grew up with the iPhone. It's the norm. The iPhone debuted in 2007. None of us here is amazed by it anymore. Now we just use it. And for them, it's customary. And it's a world where while I'm speaking, you'll check your phone. Don't deny it. I know it. I know it's happening. It's okay. I understand. So what is the big takeaway? So the big takeaway is the mobile experience is the human experience. The mobile experience is the human experience. Going online is over. Some of us say, oh, I'm going to go online. Going online is over. Online is just part of where we exist. So there's this environment, and here's this environment, and here's me. They're all aspects of the same environment. And so some of us need to make a mind shift about what's involved in that, what that means. And so this will become even more so with virtual reality. So I talked to you about my PS4 game. I would also tell you I've done a number of virtual reality experiences over recent years. Whatever's here now is going to metastasize into something far more exciting and far more capable relatively quickly. So yes, I did a thing for Man in the High Castle where I am playing Juliana Frink. I did this at Comic-Con, and I'm going in and I'm now trying to defeat the Nazis in an alternate world where they won. And as I go into it, the person running this says, I want you to be aware you're going to be playing a woman, and so when you look down and see you're wearing a skirt and heels, don't freak out. So I go into the environment, and it was very odd, I have to tell you. The next phase of this will be, of course, we'll be able to terraform asteroids, alien worlds, etc., without actually going there. Quadriplegics will be able to have what seems like a full real experience, even the areas they can't move, because they'll be in a virtual reality that seems equally valid as the real reality in the way that our dreams do. If you're a conscious dreamer, as I am, and you're in your dreams, that seems equally valid. That's another stage of experience. So now, what do business people do about these things? So you can't do everything, and the first thing you have to do as a business person is you must be strategic. You must set goals And here are the 4 goals to start with. And the Excel presentation speaks my language, because there are goals set in there, and meeting those goals and monitoring them and making sure things add up. And whenever we've had clients or new clients in trouble and we look, it's an accounting problem. They don't know where their money's coming from. They don't know where it's going. They've set no goals. There's just money happening, and they're going out of business without realizing it. So you have to ask, what are you trying to do in your marketing and in your business life? Who are you trying to do it with? Who are you trying to attract? Where can you find them? And what should they do? And you've got 4 to 8 seconds to show that. And that may not be as terrible and complicated as you think when you use things like eye tracking and you put things where they'll be found and you make your message palpably clear instantaneously, so there's no doubt. Lure them to your own interactive, customizable digital presence where you control the experience and you can track the action. Because the more that you get them on your digital presence, the more that you can work with them, and you can essentially capture the lead. You can capture an IP address, you can capture an email sign up, you can get them on your social. Getting them on your social is great, because then you can expand the audience to the people who are otherwise connected to them. Number 2, you have to grab people. And by that, you can't expect people to draw conclusions. They won't give you the time. So I'll ask new clients, look at your site with me. Act like you don't know you. What do you do? Is it immediately obvious? If it is not immediately obvious who you are and what you do and why I should care and why it's relevant to me, you didn't grab me, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to give you any more time. No one is. Leave no doubt what you want them to do, but leave options so they can find more. So generally, when we do digital marketing for a client, we'll build out a deeper presence within the site, put as much facts, as much information as we can, put a compelling story there for after you've hooked them so they can do something with it. Don't give them everything at once, they can't handle it, but you gotta grab them, and then you gotta hook them, and you gotta pull them into your heroic quest and invite them to join. I love the shoes that grow. That's a fun concept. Tom's is on a heroic quest as well. Tom's heroic quest is you buy a pair of shoes, we donate a pair of shoes, right? But let me talk about a heroic quest that all of us have seen, and we call this Think Different. How many people know the Apple Think Different campaign probably from 20 years ago? Think Different, right? So I'm a lifelong Apple user. Man, I had an Apple II Plus. Very excited about this. And there I was feeling left out in the desert. Nobody was using Apple anymore. They had Gateway, they had Dell. Is Apple going out of business? I feel bereft. I'm lost. I'm abandoned. And I drive down into Hollywood, and I saw skyscrapers with big banners that said, Think Different. Think Different. And there's Gandhi, and there's John Lennon and Yoko Ono. Here's Einstein. And I'm like, I have one of those. I'm like Einstein. I'm like Gandhi. I'm like John and Yoko. I'm part of the tribe. And so, yeah, I do branding. I understand it's a branding exercise from Apple, but I'm a sucker for it because they've pulled me into their quest of be different. Be different. And so the beautiful thing about this, everybody has the opportunity, and there's zero competition here. Others can compete with you in other ways, but they cannot be you. I know Woodbury has a distinct identity. I know that before teaching here. And when you go into the Dean Suite, you'll see signs about sustainability and about ethics. And I know that Woodbury is a community partner. Woodbury is marketing around its identity. There's no competition to be Woodbury. Only Woodbury is Woodbury. That's the benefit of marketing your own hero's quest. No one else can be you. Okay, and then finally of the 4 things, you have to double up the experience. Double up the experience. Here I am online. If I'm doing something in print, how can these interact? You have a physical presence. If you have a physical presence, the store cannot be just a store anymore. It should be a live manifestation of your company. So my students may remember this. This is a slide from Rebecca Minkoff, Store of the Future. I urge you to go to YouTube and search that. Store of the Future, Rebecca Minkoff. So when you go to Rebecca Minkoff, she's a fashion designer. When you go to her store, you go into a fitting room, and the fitting room recognizes you. So now your sizes have come up, your measurements, your tastes. It recommends other clothes to you. You can try on the clothes, and you can try them in different lighting. Here's what this sundress will look like in a sunny day. Here's what this cocktail dress will look like at nightfall in a streetscape on a rooftop. And you can push buttons and have the concierge bring you tea or coffee or something else. So what they've done is they've taken the physical environment and they've matched it with a digital environment. Online, direct people to your other digital identities, and we know what these are, but here they are: social media, videos, email, newsletter, click, click, podcast, blog. All of them work together in conjunction and they multiply the experience. And so let's talk about success. Success starts with recognizing that one thing we know for sure about the past is no one lives there anymore. So 20 years ago, I was asked to take over a company downtown, and I took over that company for about 3 years, and I had an assistant who every day had said, well, that's not how we used to do it. That's not how we used to do it. That's not how we used to do it. And I just thought I would strangle her, because I don't care how we used to do it. We're not there anymore. And she and I came to a parting of the ways, right? If you can adjust your mind to recognize that there are now multiple environments in which we exist, and that you have to be targeted in what you want to do, because although you can reach everyone, there's no time and great expense in trying to reach everyone. If you can make that adjustment in your mindset, the future holds great opportunity for those who will make that adjustment. Thank you very much.